didn't know you could donate a meniscus. Where we doing that? Like, I didn't know you could do that. You can donate literally every body part now. Like,
so
you
is
can
there someone
get out
out
there?
right there. Is there someone out there without a meniscus walking around?
No, they probably got a cadaver. No, they probably got a cadaver.
Y'all gonna listen. That's why when you get your license and they try to slip in there, do you want to be an organ donor? No.
I'm changing that.
I said yes. I said yes.
And your meniscus could
I'm
be
saying,
on the block.
Right. Don't take my meniscus.
If I'm gone, I want you guys to remember that my meniscus is on Lonzo's knee, and if he's gonna be, he's gonna be the NBA great. Say that's because of Christian.
That's Christian's meniscus.
That's
right
Christian's
there,
knee right there.
I think the definition of greatness is to inspire the people next to you. It's not something that lives and dies with one person. It's how can you inspire a person to then in turn inspire another person that then inspires another person. And that's how you create something that I think lasts forever. And I think that's our challenge as people, is to figure out how our story can impact others and motivate them in a way to create their own greatness.
Welcome to the... Welcome to the 3on3 podcast. I'm your host, Hans, here with my main man, Ev. How you doing today, Evan?
Listen, it's a beautiful day to have a beautiful day.
Yes, sir. I'm loving it. I'm loving it. Glad you're doing well. It didn't work out. Also here with my smiling, the world has finally rewarded him. He was waiting for this moment, and it's fitting because we're at the end of the season. Great things are happening. And Lou, what it do? How you feeling today, my guy?
Man, feeling good, feeling great. You already know what time it is.
Yo,
finally.
Listen.
Trade Evan.
And the pod mamba rejoices with Lou as well, as Evan's intro has failed and flopped to a burning end similar to the Knicks season.
It's been a tough year.
Listen, man. But the pod mamba is here coaching.
It was like a 25 show in a row.
Yeah, man. You had a streak, bro. You had a good streak.
That just broke.
Yeah. What's this? Show 32? We're recording?
32. Episode 32. Yeah. My prayers have been answered. Thank you, God.
Much like the Minnesota Timberwolves and the Indiana Pacers.
32 and rejoicing.
I've been tired. I just been tired of deleting those long pauses just for Evan to get his stupid little thing up.
Confetti.
You've been rewarded, Christian and Lou. Your hate has been rewarded.
Clearly.
I'm here for it. This is going to be a great show. Just even how it started off with this energy, the pettiness. I'm here for it. I am here for it. Well, guys, we're here. It's NBA final time. For me, it is a bittersweet moment. I walk around the house literally like I am bipolar, had my manic days, my days of feeling grandiose. I'm happy about seeing these Titans go at it, the best from each conference. But then I'm also sad because I have to go days in between basketball. There's not a lot of content for me to consume in terms of NBA basketball. So I'm also moping around the house as well. So it is a bittersweet moment for me. But nevertheless, I'm still going to tap into my excited side so we can start to discuss what's going on here. Right now, it's over. The Minnesota Timberwolves have fallen to the Dallas Mavericks, and they will face the waiting Celtics because they've had almost over a week. It's been over a week. I would say close to 2 weeks, honestly. They've just been sitting there chilling, waiting to see what happens on the West Coast. So we have the results. So the results are in, guys. And I know that you guys are just excited as I am in regards to see what's going to happen. So let's talk about these marquee matchups, these narratives. What storylines are you guys tapping into right now? What are you looking ahead to see? We'll start with you, Ev, since your intro ain't work, man. Let's give you a chance to get back on top of things, man, to get you back in your routine. What storyline are you most looking forward to in this 2024 NBA Finals?
Honestly, without my fireworks, I don't know where to go from here. But I'm gonna do my
I mean, we got to
best.
end the show. I'm surprised you're still here. I'm surprised you just didn't, power down, walk upstairs, see a beautiful family, and say, "Look, it's not in the cards for me
We'll
tonight."
try again next week.
I thought
We're
about it.
creatures
I
of
thought
habit.
about it. I thought
You know?
about it, but I'm committed to you guys. I'm committed to our audience. I'm committed to the show. And what I'll say, as talking about commitment, the storyline that I'm most excited about is this the year that the Boston Celtics finally get over the hump? There's been a lot of discourse and disdain related to the Celtics. As dominant a team as they were during the regular season, a lot of the storyline continues to be of their failures prior to this season, whether it's back at the beginning of Tatum and Brown's surgence when they were losing to the Cavs, LeBron's day when they were young, losing to the Heat in the bubble, losing to the Warriors, that collapse against the Heat again last season. As good as the Celtics season has been, a lot of their story has been around what they haven't been able to do historically, how easy their path was to make it to the finals. And honestly, I'm excited to see these guys back on this stage. Tatum, okay, not a top 5 player maybe, but he's been as one of the most consistent players, even if he's top 6-ish, since about 2019, 2020. Jaylen Brown's continuing to get better every single year. In a season that started with as much scrutiny about him getting the largest contract in NBA history to put up the playoffs that he has. Kristaps Porzingis, back to my Knicks days, I've been a supporter of KP from the jump, and his journey through Dallas, his uneasy fit with Luka, his time in DC with the Wizards where nobody was watching, but he was putting together some of the most consistent games of his career to get to the culmination where if healthy, he's going to be on the stage with the chance to help a team win. I'm excited to see this team that folks are dismissing while still recognizing how good their season has been. I'm excited to see if they can do it. This team's been on a journey. We've been riding with them, whether you've been rooting for them or against them. And I haven't been rooting for them, but I've been keeping an eye on them these past few years. They're back. Can they do it this year? I'm excited to see that.
So I think deeply rooted in the criticism towards the Celtics is our longing and comfortability with usually seeing some type of juggernauts go at it in the East or in the West. So we could say, as much as Denver is a great team, people will still definitely say you still had a kind of, heavyweight fight between Dallas and Minnie with the ascension of Ant, right? So some will still say that Dallas had to go through a formidable, opponent in order to get where they're at. And I think what we as sports watchers are enamored with is that type of fighting or that type of competition that gets you to the NBA finals. And it just seems that this year they didn't have to tussle with Giannis. They didn't have to tussle with a Embiid. They didn't have to tussle with one of the greats in their conference to make it to where they're at. And it has people questioning them. And I'll say on that angle, we may have to get over it. But what I will say, though, rightfully so, is although they did sweep the Pacers, they didn't win those games handedly. They were behind, and they had to make a comeback on the shorthanded teams as well. And that leaves a little room for doubt when you now have to face somebody who's a lot more formidable than a hobbled Pacers, a hobbled Heat, et cetera, et cetera. So to your point, though, I do definitely agree that they do get some unfair criticism because at the end of the day, they made it. They did their job. They beat who they're supposed to beat. You can't control who's put in front of you, right? You can't.
That's true.
But at the same time, though, something has to be said though in the manner in which you competed in those games. And I think that for me, it shows a little bit of their character and the fact that those games were as close as they were when they're supposed to be head and shoulders above those teams. And that's what kind of worries me when it comes to the Celtics.
And I think all valid points. What creates that worry is the historical precedence of the team, because we've talked about their tightness in close game situations in previous years past. And so I think that is what's causing people to cause this playoff path into question. They did go 64-18 during the regular season, 11.4 point differential, a top 5 point differential, top 5, top 6 in the history of the NBA in the regular season. And so everything we've seen from this team speaks to one of the most dominant teams up to this point, right? In NBA history, regular season to this point through the playoffs. It's the story beyond just this season that's tapping into more so the concerns that people are sharing, more so than what their path has been to this far, in my opinion. So that's why I think it's fascinating to see, okay, at this point, given all of that combined, what are they going to do in this finals?
Yeah, 100%.
That point about the closeness of the games, I think it's something to be said based on how this team has been able to be more poised and to be able to close out the games that they did in the way that they did. That has been a previous issue. Oh, they're letting it too close. They're letting it slip from them, and they're not able to make the adjustments necessary to prove that they're the better team and close it out. So I do think there is some maturity, some growth we've seen with this Celtics team that should give us a little bit more excitement about what this finals is going to look like.
Yeah. And I mean, we'll see, right? One of the statements, cliche statements that are often said is you are who you are, right? Zebra can't change the stripes. So I think this is a chance to really see if they have that championship pedigree and will they come through? Will they follow through all the way to their end? So it'll be interesting. Definitely a huge storyline to definitely look out for. Lou, in terms of the finals, what are you looking at?
Yeah, it's funny because I mean, you mentioned two things that I actually was looking at, right? KP being on the other side of this matchup, as just as well as Kyrie being on the other side of this matchup, right? With Kyrie having played for them in 17-18 and the 18-19 season, and the question around could he lead a team and what he was able to do or not do, etc. But I just think that all that's been happening of Kyrie's last couple of years, where he is now, one, clearly being visibly more centered in himself, clearly looking more mature, like what he's done in this playoffs as well, right? So both on and off the court this season, especially this playoffs, to see what player that is now stepping into this final series. So I think it's almost a little bit of a redemption story for Kyrie as he goes and plays into these final series. So really looking forward to seeing what his impact is. We've seen the adjustments that the Mavericks from coaching from Luka. I mean, clearly Luka is the guy of the team. Is his team, but what Kyrie has been able to come and do and be able to maximize not just his play, but also those around him as well. So coming into this playoffs is going to be, I think he's going to be pretty action packed. And I think there's also going to be a little bit of look, I got a chip on my shoulder. You used to play with us. We didn't really like how it panned out, and vice versa. So I do expect this to be a very competitive series.
I 100% love that angle too. As Kyrie fan, Jersey in the building. I want to see him flourish, and also too, I know they watch the commentators just as much as we do. I know they don't want to say they do, but they hear it. They hear everything. And I'm sick and tired of people saying that Derek White and Drew Holiday are going to shut Kyrie down. It's not happening. Nobody can shut Kyrie down. He's one of those players where I believe he shuts himself down. That's what I believe. I believe he gets caught up in little minute things here, but I do not see any single player in the history of this game staying in front of Mr. Irving and slowing him down.
Look,
I don't see that
it was like you can't stop him. Can only hope to
right at all. Now, granted, we all know this is chess, not checkers, right? If you want to make that the focal point and have Kyrie do his thing to the detriment of the team losing, of course you don't want that to happen. But I think this is going to be a test of whether Kyrie has mastered pacing of the game, which to me he's shown that he has in the previous contest against the Minnesota Timberwolves. He understands the moment. He understands when to go, when to seize it. When historically, when he's been on those, achieving teams, it's been LeBron, right? LeBron has understood the moment. LeBron has said, hey, we need to attack here. We need to be aggressive here. Now he's the elder statesman, and he's really embracing that. When you hear his interviews, right, saying that he wants to lead his team, he wants to give counsel, he wants to mentor them, et cetera, and he's definitely thriving that. So I say all that to say, I'm interested to see, is Kyrie going to seize the moment? Is he going to imprint this game in a manner that is successful for the team? So I'm definitely looking for that narrative, like Lou said as well. For me, I'm looking to see Luka Magic, baby. I'm looking to see Luka Magic quietly, but not quietly, in the sense of we've been enamored by Shai Gilgeous-Alexander this year and the step and leaps he's taken. We've been enamored by Tyrese Maxey and the leaps and bounds he's taking. We've been enamored for a little bit by Joel Embiid, how he started off putting Wilt-like numbers on the board, looking like he's going for another MVP until, unfortunately, he was injured again. And we're always enamored by the Joker and how he is
the greatest
just
player on the planet,
a maestro in the game, and just pulls tricks and passes and it's just wild. But we haven't been enamored enough by the maturity of Luka Doncic and how he has literally developed another aspect of his game in terms of leadership and seizing the moments and knowing when to impose his will on the game, when to fall back. He's a maestro as well, making the right passes. I'm interested to see Luka on this level. Will he continue to finish out and show us that he has actually matured all the way as a leader? Because at the end of the day, we can't deny his talent. He's already proven to us he's that dude on the court, right? He's that man. And so much so that he gets comparisons to Harden, right? But here's where I think he's better than Harden. I think his ability to lead the team is something that Harden struggled with and still struggles with, but whatever. I think, because if we're honest, Chris Paul led the team that Harden had the most success with, right? We can argue that. But I think Luka has really tapped into something here with this team. He's leading them in a way that I don't think I've seen him lead before. He's not just bullying. So he's not muscling the game like he used to back in the day. Remember his usage rates and he was just muscling it. He's not doing that as much. And also, I love his commitment on the defensive end. We've seen an improvement on that. He's taking pride into it now. Of course, he's not going to be as great as others because that's not his forte. But the fact that he values it enough and sees that it's needed for him to be a winner in this league, I want to see that storyline continue to develop. And it's sad that now I'm hearing media personnel say, "Oh yeah, the best player in the league." Y'all weren't saying that a couple weeks ago.
Here we go.
Y'all weren't saying that a couple weeks ago. Don't do it now. But they're saying it. Yeah, the best player in the league. And now he's the best player in the league. Now you're seeing
still
it.
Not the best player in the league. Stop it.
Okay,
I think what's interesting in those two is that, take 4 inches and about 50 pounds off off of Jokic, and you kind of have Luka at that point. I mean, so the similarities in the two can't be ignored. I want to make a quick Luka point to your point, Hans, but and make a Kyrie point in that. You mentioned his leadership. Luka got off that bus at Game 5 in Minnesota and said there won't be a Game 6. And you could tell it from the moment he walked into the gym. Now, 18 points in the first quarter, outscoring the Timberwolves themselves, bringing Kyrie along to outscore the team themselves in the first half. A leader sets the tone like that. We're not going back to Dallas. This one's over. It should have been over 2 days ago. It's over now, right? And so, to that leadership standpoint, that our team feeds off of that. And you can tell Luka came with that, and Luka comes with that. And to the Kyrie point, it's a lazy comparison. But let's talk about Kyrie's the wilderness. You have him a clear number 2 with a do-it-all player on the court. He looks the best he's looked since the last time he was a clear number 2 with a do-it-all player on the court. Anytime Kyrie's been put in position to either lead or co-lead or think he's leading, he's at a struggle. But when he's able to be his best at a clear number 2 spot, we see amazing stuff from Kyrie. So I'm happy to see it, and I feel like he's learned from the years away from LeBron when it's good to have a player of that ilk,
right,
to be able to handle.
I sort of disagree with you here, because I think in this situation, it's more of a co-leadership type of thing, with it being Luka's team. And then what's happened is Kyrie's now developed his identity without winning with LeBron. So I think he's clear on what type of player he is, and the expectations aren't the same. And then what he's been able to bring to the table, when you're able to play like that, you're able to play with a more of a poise than you do when you go like, hey, you just won with LeBron, now it's your turn to do it by yourself. Especially with what the media was trying to spin it when he ended up leaving Cleveland and so on and so forth. So
I think he chose that path, though.
Yeah, he chose that path because he asked what the Cavaliers front office, what they wanted to do, what their vision was moving forward, and it didn't align with what he wanted. But I don't think that necessarily, means that he couldn't have been in a position where he could have still grown with that team. But I think, all of that stuff that then comes into it. You're a young guy. You just played with the best player in the world. You won. Now the media saying that you want to leave. They're spinning the story that you want to leave. And now you're sitting there questioning yourself, did I make the right decision? And then it's like, well, now people expect it because of the great player that you are. When you come from day one coming into the league, they're expecting you to come now carry that torch on wherever you go. So I think it's been a bumpy path. I won't say this, but it's been a bumpy path for Kyrie, both on the court and off the court, because I think he's one of the players that, unfortunately, off the court stuff has plagued his focus and his attention to the game more than we've seen any other player currently of his level. So I'm just happy to see him be engaged and locked in.
But I think that's what it is that I don't think we're locked in on. You're saying of his level. His level is a strong number 2. That's his level. Because at the end of the day, as great as his skill set is,
Kyrie number 1 anywhere else you go.
Yeah, but he's not leading. So that's my thing. You could be number 1. I'll give you that. Who's the number 1 on the Wizards right now? Can't remember. Number 1 on Detroit.
Jordan
Who's the number
Poole?
1 on Detroit's?
Cunningham?
Kay Cunningham, right? Clear leader. Team's not going anywhere. I know that's a bad comparison. But I guess what I'm saying here is there's a difference between being the number 1 on the team, right?
Oh,
and
I agree.
And
being the leader
and leading that team. Like Kyrie has
No,
proven.
we can go back to Evans' example. We can go talk about a Harden and CP3.
Yeah.
A
Like, it's
leader versus
proven, like,
number one. I agree with that point 1000%. This
as
is
number
my
one who can.
my argument about Devin Booker. Devin Booker's the clear number one,
KD.
but he didn't lead that team. Chris Paul did.
KD.
No. Go ahead.
Well, Power Mom is saying KD and that's kind of.
He said KD.
Yeah,
Well,
but
KD
that's kind of to my
with their
that's kind of
previous
to my
success.
Jersey point though, not Jersey, my Brooklyn point. When they were in Brooklyn and you had two number ones, and in fact you had no number ones, and I think they both had to learn from that experience. I'll say this though. I'll close it at this. Lou, I need you to keep that same jersey love and that same jersey spin when we're talking about Cat. All right. We can move on.
Me?
You ain't gonna get it from me. You already know you ain't getting it from me.
But I was just like, don't even look at my square.
Don't listen. Not everybody from Jersey is solid. I'll say that. Wow. That's just what it is. That's for every state though. Not everybody from the state is solid. That's just what it is. It is what it is. But speaking of legacies, right? We're talking about Kyrie's legacy up to this point, and what's happening. So let's get into that. So we do have, I think I said it last episode, if not last episode, the one before. This is going to be an NBA Finals where you're going to have a new superstar, right? Crowned as an NBA champion. So let's start with you, Lou. In terms of legacy, who do you think needs this championship most?
Come on. You know what I've been saying for weeks. It's who's to lose. It's who's finals to lose. Who's championship to lose? The Celtics. If the Celtics don't win.
So what player on the Celtic do you think?
The guy is Jason Tatum, right? We talk about him. Is he a top 5 player or not? Right? I don't think we're necessarily worried. Well, not saying worried or having that type of conversation when it comes to Jaylen Brown. So yeah, I think this impacts Jason Tatum's legacy of anything. To put it in perspective, I think as coming from the next generation of players who were who've taken on the Mamba mentality, right? For you then to say this is the guy, that I looked up to in terms of Kobe, you sending text messages to somebody who's not here. You know what I mean? It's like, hey. But all of that to say is, if you've now aligned yourself, right, with that level of greatness, somebody who's been a champion and so on, and you've knocked on the door a couple times, we're getting to the point as well, based on like what Evan was talking about, your history, what does that then mean? Can you actually get over that hump or not? When Kobe had to get over that hump without having Shaq, he did it. He executed it, right? Tatum, it's time for you to win one. To win one and for you to live up to the height, or rather the level that everybody has been holding and that you've been actually putting out about yourself, of being that next level, a superstar, to be able to be one of the guys that carry the torch of being one of the greats in the NBA. So I think Tatum, of all the superstars being named here, because I think Kyrie, he's in a good position because of just how great this year has gone for him from everything that's happened previously. Luka, again, Hans, you mentioned it, right? The media is now starting to say he's the best player, so that means people weren't actually checking for you like that. They were checking for your cousin, Joker, right? Because they've always seen him as the guy, or rather him being the guy in the league. JB, when you pick up the left on your way to game one, like, you know what I mean? Like there are all of these pieces of these various players. KP, they're just, happy to be able to have him back, and the impact he's been able to have during the season. But when it comes to the consistent superstar that everybody expecting to do, to take it to the next level and to lead their team there, Tatum is the one who's going to have that most impact for sure.
I will say that I agree with that. To the point I agree with that is everybody expects you to be there. So you have to deliver. Whereas as good as the Mavs have been, I don't think people expected them to get there right now. So I see Tatum as having that. What about you, Ev? Whose legacy are you seeing going to be impacted in terms of this final?
Man, you can't talk legacy without talking Luka legend, can you? I mean, it's
Yes, you can.
I agree with everything that you said about Boston, about Jason Tatum, and what this could do for his story and his standing in the league, or where he's currently at, how he's currently perceived, to what a championship would do to his perception. When you talk about Luka, though, you're talking about a player who's already on a path, who's already writing a legend story, so to speak. I mean, his overseas story, right? Coming in 18 years old, winning EuroLeague title, MVP, Final Four MVP, youngest player to do that in history over there in Europe. Comes over, you hear about him, right, coming over, but is he going to live up to that when he gets here? And he has. He's checked every box since he's been here. Rookie of the year is rookie year. 5 straight All-Star appearances, 5 straight first team All-NBA appearances. He's done the playoff. He's had the big moments, the big shots in the playoffs. He's done everything that we were looking. No shade at Ant. I don't want to be in this next Adidas commercial, but he's done everything that we got excited about Anthony Edwards over the past few weeks. Luka has done that plus up to this point. The only player to this point that's checking off all of the year-to-year scoring milestones that LeBron James has up to the age of 25, right? Meaning the only player that's currently on pace, on track to possibly exceed what LeBron has done from a scoring standpoint. So what did LeBron do when he was around this age? Take the Cavaliers to their first finals, up against the team they were overmatched against, the San Antonio Spurs. Luka pulling out a win in this situation, you've changed the trajectory. You've changed the conversation of what we're looking at for the next 10 to 15 years of this man's career. Because, we expect him to be in place, to win championships, but you got to win them when you're there.
Does it put him near top 5 level?
Nobody's at top 5 level at 25 years old. But you can't ignore the trajectory that he's on if he has a championship to what the boxes that he's checking to this point.
Let me say this. Does he go ahead of Tatum if he wins this out?
He's ahead of Tatum now. He stays ahead of Tatum.
This is why I disagree with you, because here's how we're talking about how this impacts him is a guy we already expect to do it versus if Luka wins it, it changes the conversation about him. This doesn't necessarily change the conversation about Tatum. This confirms what we already know or believe that Tatum should be.
I disagree.
That's not the same conversation with Luka.
I disagree with that. I think Tatum's
How can you disagree with that if they didn't even expect the Mavericks to be here?
But to me, I don't see that as a bad thing. So it changes.
I'm not saying it's a bad thing.
No, but what I'm saying is now we see you're better. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, now we see that we've been sleeping. Like, I don't know. Like, for me, like, the change because everybody doesn't have the same trajectory in the game, right? Like, so Tatum's trajectory has been pretty steady. He's improved every year. He's shown us different things. And to your credit, Lou, he has aligned himself with the great. He has aligned himself and he showed us some flashes to where we see that this could be possible. But at the same time, too, like, I appreciate the parody of the NBA to where this guy from a country we're not too familiar with comes in this game, starts to dominate it in the scoring aspect, like Ev pointed out with his stats, and now has shown us like, no, I'm really that guy and I can win in this league too. Like, for me, the narrative is not like, yo, not only did you tell us at the age of 13 you were great overseas, I'm great here in the best league in the world. I don't know, something like that's to me. That's saying something. Like I can't be mad at somebody saying, okay, let me put you in that conversation, top 5 or near.
So the short of it, what I'm saying is that Luka losing doesn't hurt his legacy, right? Tatum winning confirms his legacy, right?
I disagree.
Because Tatum losing hurts his legacy.
I disagree. I think there's degrees to it. So you're right, but then I also disagree with you. Tatum losing hurts his legacy more than Luka losing. Because
I think it doesn't hurt Luka's at all if he loses.
I think it does. Because now it says I think it does. It says he can't finish. It confirms other bad things, negative things that we've had about his legacy, right? But I think it hurts Tatum more because he's been here before, right? So a L for Tatum means more for his legacy than an L for Luka, because Luka's timeline, we had more grace because he didn't make it to, the finals as many times as the Celtics did. He didn't knock on the door as many times as Tatum has knocked on the door. So I think that Tatum taking an L here hurts his legacy more than Luka taking an L. I think it hurts his legacy, but not as much as Tatum.
And the reason why I don't think it necessarily hurts Luka's legacy is because, again, of all the points that you guys are saying, he's 25. What do you expect a team to do at 25? LeBron went and got overtaken by the spread. Luka.
Well, that's exactly where the difference is for me right there. I think Luka's legacy is more tied to him. Tatum's legacy is more tied to his team. The Celtics are supposed to win this. But even if they win it, I don't think it changes the conversation of Jason Tatum is a better player than Luka Doncic. Luka Doncic is recognized as clearly a top 5 player in this league on a slightly more elevated track than Jason Tatum currently. So because of which, Luka Doncic, the player, when he gets in this situation, he's supposed to win the title even if his team is overmatched. That's what I think hurts him slightly if they lose. Where if the Celtics lose, you all as a team have been in this situation and continue to fall short.
Yeah, it's a tandem.
So here's why I the second part I agree with in terms of the Celtics, but why I can't agree with this, the viewpoint on Luka is because we just said 5 minutes ago that the Mavericks weren't even expected to be here. So how can somebody's legacy be hurt when I didn't expect you to be here?
Well, one of these boxes picked them as the most dangerous team in the West after the trade deadline. So I can't
after the trade deadline,
totally didn't expect them to be
after the trade deadline, because after the trade deadline, did they trade for Luka?
No, they traded for pieces.
So they didn't trade for the guy that we're talking about. That's what I'm saying. I can't be and knock somebody who I did not expect. If I didn't expect you to be here, I cannot say when you didn't achieve it that, oh man, you take this is confirming this and third about you. And even if something does confirm something about you,
if you're sleeping, you're woke, you're woke. That's, I guess for me, like, that's what it is. If you're awakened, if you're enlightened, you're now held accountability to your enlightenment. Look, so what you're saying is because
perception is reality. If you're new to the party, you're new to the party. But guess what? The party didn't matter for you before because if you weren't there, right? So I can't say that. Again, I'm not saying that Luka, because here's the thing. You just said it. We'll continue to give Luka a little bit of grace. If you don't get it this year, look, man, your trajectory, you should get it at some point, right? I think at some point, this is going to be my regular Devin Booker trashing. If you don't get it, we're going to start looking at you like Devin Booker. You were supposed to do that. You were talking about Devin is probably the mix of the two. You talked about the Mamba mentality. You talked about this and the third, to the point where you had to turn around like, I didn't say I was going to need the next Kobe or this. Nah, you aligned yourself with that greatness. Your team hasn't necessarily been a team that we expected to be there. However, when you did get key pieces as the leader, as the number one on the team, and as the thought of or suspected leader, we expected you to be able to, in those moments, then capitalize and bring your team over to the finish line. But you did it. I think if Luka continues to end up in those situations, then we'll start having to talk about how that negatively impacts his legacy. But as of for right now, this matters more for Tatum for sure.
Here's what I'll say about that. I think I see it as not the allure, but there's so high of an expectation for Tatum to be successful. Not that everybody's rooting, right? The expectation for Tatum to be successful is so high that if he fails, it greatly overshadows any disappointment for anybody else. Because you even confronted what you're saying. Luka not having the pieces, right? Which is why we don't expect them. Because if Luka had from the jump what Tatum had, he'd be there sooner. Because Luka didn't have what Tatum had, right? So, and you've even said it with coaching and all of that, but we won't even get there. But I agree with you, to just end this segment real quick, that the expectation that we have of Tatum succeeding is so high that if he doesn't, it dwarfs any other disappointment that we can get from that would be the great disappointment of this finals.
Well, don't align yourself to the mom mentality if you're going to shy away with it when it matters most.
Ooh,
listen, that's facts. You talking about Booker?
I'm talking about whoever wants to align themselves with Kobe and stuff like that. I mean, don't shy away from greatness when it comes down to it.
So I had issue with that. I had a lot of umbrage with that. And I kind of felt like I was the pod mamba for a second, like being the gatekeeper of Kobe's, legacy. Yeah. I felt like they were using that as a fuel to elevate Tatum as that throne bearer. In the rap game, we talk about plants, right? Industry plants and things that nature.
He wore that purple. He wore that purple forearm band for over a season. Like, I want to hear from him.
And I felt like he was just being propelled too soon. Like, let the man, it was too much too soon. Let the man develop. Stop hoisting him up there and everything like that. But that's neither here nor there. Let's get on to the actual matchups.
That was your fault, Hans, calling him a shooting guard. But continue.
I mean, I can pull up the NBA and share my screen and see what he's listed as the positions. I mean, that's his fault. He should have said, no, I'm just a small forward. Don't compare me to the great Kobe Bean. That's his fault. Just saying. Anywho, let's talk about the X's and O's. I'll start with you, Lou. What does Boston, since we talk about Tatum's expectations and his legacy, what does Boston need to do to guarantee a win in this NBA Finals?
They need to protect and shoot the ball well. Those are going to be those key pieces. You don't want to end, as we've seen the rising defense of the Dallas Mavericks, and we know one of the things that the Celtics have made themselves have had as a cornerstone of their offense is how well they can shoot, particularly from three. So I think that one of the biggest things is because even in the games that they've played, they've been pretty evenly matched on every stat this season, right? But it's in terms of their shooting, especially their three-point percentage, being able to capitalize on that. Also their free throw shooting, making sure that they can get, because the margin for error is going to be slim here playing against the Dallas Mavericks. So, and then, I'm going to throw in coaching because, I think my man Jason Kidd is on to something here. But I think those are the two key stats they're gonna have to be able to make sure that they're capitalizing on, is making sure that they can be efficient with their shooting and making sure that they can take care of the ball and obviously making their free throws.
Any other keys for Boston Ave?
Contain Kyrie. Contain PJ Washington, and by PJ Washington, I use them as emblematic of the role players. Their Boston's team defense has been one of the most consistent defenses of any team this season, and so just maintaining their defensive identity when Luka is doing his thing, because Luka's going to get his points. Where teams fall short as they get out of their identity and allow Kyrie to go off and then the role players to go off. So maintain their team identity, which is in turn maintaining Kyrie and containing the rest of the role players.
Okay, I'll
I
keep it
think
with
they
you,
have
man.
the advantage if they keep to themselves and they keep to their core identity without deviating too much. I honestly think they have the advantage. They could have the advantage in this series.
No.
I agree. I'm gonna give it to you, but I'll say one thing too that you guys didn't mention. KP. I think KP is definitely a key. Throughout the season, he's been the most efficient and effective low post scorer. And we've seen throughout the season and throughout the years when the shots aren't falling for Boston, that gets them in a lot of trouble. They lose their identity and things of that nature, like Ev mentioned before. And I think Chris Stapps regulates them. You can throw it to him in a post, and he's a guaranteed bucket in some way, shape, or form when the outside shooting's not working. So I think KP is definitely a key for Boston. Ev, what about Dallas, man? What needs to happen for them, boss?
I got 3 things for you. First off, limit turnovers and avoid transition. Boston, one of the better transition teams in the league. This needs to be a half-court game. If Dallas is keeping the pace low, operating in the half court, make Boston execute the entirety of the game, especially in the fourth quarter. You wanted a half court game where you have 2 of the best clutch shot makers in the league going up against a team that, historically has had some tight moments in the fourth quarter when the game is close. 2, and this is a big caveat on if KP is healthy. He's come game 1, he would have been out for 37 days. So there's some expectation out there that he's healthy. They've been icing him for this series, just keeping him coy. So we'll see. But if KP's out there, it's going to be imperative that they run those shooters off the 3-point line and get them inside to their transition defense. You need a lot of shots contested by Gafford and Lively and not getting rotated and switched into open 3-point shots. That's going to be key in the series. And then 3, the inverse of what I said on the Boston side. Luka's going to get his, but Kyrie's going to be key in this series. It's kind of cliche to think about, but Boston, I'm certain, is going to be keying in on between the Drew Holiday matchup, the Jaylen Brown matchup, and some of the Derek White matchup, keeping the body, keeping the pressure on Kyrie. Luka's going to get his. They have to be able to free Kyrie to where those 2 are outscoring whatever the top 2 tandems of Boston is throughout this series. You can't win a title if you only have one player creating his own shots. At least not against this Boston team. You're going to have 2 playmakers against them being successful. So it's going to come down to how they unleash Kyrie.
What it do, Lou? What's Dallas need to do, man? I know you had the Celtics all the way.
Yeah, one of the biggest
Dallas need to do.
They're gonna have to, and I'm glad to ever mention this because talking about if they want to make this a half-court game, you don't want to end up in these switches and Gafford or Lively end up in foul trouble. That's going to be a big issue if these guys end up in foul trouble because now you're not going to be able to have those big bodies to be able to now kind of force them to move around and limiting them shooting from 3. Like they cannot be hot from 3. You can't let Derek White get off. You know what I mean? You can't even sleep and let Drew get off because again, a lot of teams forget that Drew can turn it on the offensive end too, if need be. The stars are going to get theirs, right? So Tatum and Brown are going to get theirs, but yeah, it's going to be a key matchup of who can limit what role players. And you have to try. I mean, they split the game. In terms of KP played, I think in their first matchup when they won, and then he didn't play in their second matchup that they won. So I think they have a way to scheme either way with KP in there or not. But naturally, he'll bring a new dimension to the game. So you're going to have to make sure that you keep your bigs out of foul trouble so they can be able to give you as much as they can to be able to having any of these other pieces outside of Tatum and Brown?
A name that hasn't been mentioned, I haven't heard, is I was thinking about it when Ev was talking about you need to have other players who can create their own shot. It's Tim Hardaway Jr.
Hardaway Jr. It's because
Yeah.
he's too inconsistent and he doesn't seem like he's actually healthy.
Well, yeah, I was gonna say I think his health is in question too, but I'm wondering if this is going to be a situation where A, we realize the full extent of his injury, or B, he comes out and shows us that, hey, I'm still, because he's been out of the rotation mostly for health reasons, but also I think it's been a kind of addition by subtraction as well too, because it's allowed for other role players, PJ Washington, Jones Jr. to kind of step in and do what they need to do. So I'm curious to see what role he plays, just because he is a creator. So let's say they find some way to limit Kyrie, right? He's the other creator that they have off the ball on that team. So you're not going to expect PJ Washington or, the others to create their shot like Luka, Kyrie, and Hardaway can. So I'm interested to see his role, his level of health in this series, and if he can be impactful. So it's going to be interesting. I am hearing the consensus a lot is that people feel like Boston is heads the favorite here. Even the betting odds, of course, are skewed towards Boston as well. But I think it's going to be a tightly contested series. I really do. I think this goes all the way 6-7. So we're going to see. Let's transition on to picks. Who you got? Who do you have? Start with you, Ev. Who's winning it all, man? You putting the money on the table. You slapping the bills right now. Who you putting your money on, man? Who
And
you
in
putting
how
the
many
college
games?
fund on?
I say two things. This is a
It's only two
hard
teams.
pick for me. I agree. I think it's going to be a very exciting series. I think it's going to go 7. I'm picking with my head, not my heart. And I do pick Boston. And here's why. They played a game on March 1st. And this is before they went on Dallas went on a 16-2 run, 16-4 to end the season. But they had a game March 1st, and it was the first of 3 straight games that they lost: Boston, Indiana, Philly. And the thing about that specific game in Boston was that Luka was amazing. 37, 12, and 11. PJ Washington, it was one of his first games with the team. Gafford was there. He didn't play as well. Granted, that's not the team. They didn't gel as well as they have now. But watching that game, I saw a Boston team that played exactly the way I expect them to play in this series. Luka, you do your thing. Nobody else is getting off like that, though. They won 138-110. And since that game, it's one of the games that I have not been able to get out of my mind this season. It's one of the most memorable performances that I saw all season. So when picking, I can't erase what I saw in that game. And outside of everything that Boston has done this season, as impressive as they looked the entire season, outside of, again, I said Dallas, most dangerous team in the West. I felt that. I believe that. They've gelled into that. With these two coming together as close as I think it's going to be, that's the game that sticks out in my mind, and that's why I'm picking Boston. We could come away from this 2 weeks and Luka has shown us Luka magic and all the storylines that come with it, and I wouldn't be surprised at all. But if I have to pick, I'm picking Boston.
All right, Lou. Don't know why I'm going to because you've made it clear. But go
How
ahead,
many
Lou.
games, coward? How many games?
I said 7 in the midst of that soliloquy.
7. As you so eloquently put, man, that game, I'm glad you brought up that game because that's further aligns with the why. That game, as a team, they shot 48% from 3. almost 49% from three. And I believe everybody shot 50% or better except for Jaylen Brown. I think he was 2 for 5 from three. You had Drew Holiday going off 3 for 3 from three. So they torched him. They torched him from beyond the arc, and Dallas didn't really have an answer for it. And that is without KP. Good luck. You know what I mean? This is their team. I'm sorry, KP did play that game, but I think he had 24. But it's their game to lose. It's their series to lose. And I think the Celtics get it done in 5.
5, okay.
They get it done.
Both of you guys could go to hell, honestly. Both of you. Hans, bring it home, baby. I know you on my side.
Listen, man. Y'all Negroes tripping. March was how many years ago? We're in June, baby. We are in June. The season has changed. It's hot outside.
Talk to him, Hans.
The Mavericks are on a roll. Kyrie has found his role, his pocket. Their defense is up. And you guys are tripping if you're telling me that the freaking Celtics are going to shoot close to 50% from three in the finals? In the finals? Stop it.
They ain't playing the Pacers, man.
Stop it. Stop it. This game, that was in the back. All right. Relax. Y'all tripping. I'm going with Dallas, baby, in 7. That's what's going to happen. It's going to be a back and forth series.
Go.
But I'm going Dallas in 7 because at the end of the day, when it gets close, I'm going with my clutch players, which are Kyrie and Luka, and not Jason and Jalen. That's just what it is for me.
Yeah.
As much as the Pod Mamba does not want the NBA championship tie to be broken,
shut your mouth,
and the Celtics to take the lead in overall banners, both legitimate and legitimate in the NBA, it's hard for press for me to believe that the Celtics are going to get here again and not win. But I can see it. Like I said, hard pick for me. But I think they get over.
Nobody Celtics are them to lose against the Heat.
The Celtics are the 2021 Phoenix Suns. Easy road. You're gonna get smacked by the superior team.
But here's what worries me too, though. The only concern I have with Dallas, they've showed it in all the series they've played thus far. They have laps. They have these laps, and these teams run up the numbers. Boston is not an easy team to crawl back from, to play from behind from. So they have to be mindful of not getting down big. Because what they'll do is they'll have laps, they'll get down big, and then Luka magic happens, Kyrie magic happens, right? And boom. The Celtics are a lot more disciplined defensively this season, and you can't get down big. So that is a concern I have. I have no problem with them getting down because at the end of the day, you can make it happen, but you can't be down 20 plus thinking you're going to rally. And that goes the same thing for the Celtics too.
Agreed.
You can't get down. This ain't the Pacers like Pop Mamba says. This ain't the Pacers. This is not their hobbled Heat. You can't get down big, 20 plus. Now, 10, this is the new NBA. You get down 10, that's nothing. That can happen. 12, but like 20 plus, like we've seen in both these series, I don't think you can do that and win. That's just my take on it. But y'all tripping. Kyrie, let's go, baby. Luka magic all
Mavs
day.
Mavs in 5.
Hey.
I like this. We have
love it, Pop
We
Mamba.
have Celtics in 5. We have Mavs in 5. We have Celtics in 7. We have Mavs in 7.
Let's
get
go.
it.
So what I'm hearing is it's going to be Mavs in 6. Got it. Cool.
That's where you put your money.
Split the difference.
That's what the medium. That's what I'm hearing.
Celtics in 6.
You said Celtics in 5, Lou.
No,
wow.
Yeah, 5.
Wow. You a bum.
Because they get one in. They get one in Dallas. It's choppers.
They get shit.
One. It's choppers.
You think Dallas is gonna let KP get a win off of them?
Yes.
Yeah, right. Not in Dallas.
It's already been done.
Well, let's see if that hamstring's right. Hammies take a while. See if that
Maybe
hand
the ghost of Red Auerbach will help him in Boston, but he ain't getting a win in Dallas. I'm telling you that.
We'll see. Hopefully, no storms hit out Powers or anything. But Dallas makes sure that arena stays lit because everything else was.
They got their own generators. They have their own
Goku throws up his hands
fallout
for
shelters.
Genkidama, and all the people of Earth send their energy to him. That's American Airlines Arena in Dallas on game night, okay?
Yeah, and the Celtics is Frieza and Frieza's damn squad. That's who the Celtics are.
Make it land, Christian. Make it land.
The Ginyu Force.
Man, that the Ginyu Force. All 5 of them. That's funny.
Oh man, that's wild. So I can't wait. All right, guys. Thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate it as always. For additional content, slide on over through the OVO shuffle over to our OT segment. Ev, go ahead, man. Go ahead, Ev. I see you, baby. I see you, Ev. Way to end the show. Check us out on YouTube, y'all. We appreciate it. We'll see you guys next week.
Hey, guys. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the episode, give us a thumbs up. If you really, really enjoyed it, hit the subscribe button and the notification button so you can keep up with us every week. Be sure to follow us on all our socials at the 3on3 Podcast. Hey, got a question, topic you want us to talk about? Hit us up on our email at 3on3podcast@gmail.com. We appreciate y'all. Tune in next week.